Great day for David Hayes. Good day too for Michael Clark. He rode a double yesterday. And Keith Hilly, what did you think was a big story out of Flemington?
Bruce, I thought it was Blevick. The Derby winner did come back yesterday. The race was run in a slow time, 5 seconds outside the record, but I like the way Blevick put his head out, and so did his jockey, Rod Griffiths, who said they won't beat him next start, and next start will be the Guineas.
Well, we're looking forward to him taking on Dane Wynn, who you saw, Max, in the barrier trial on Friday. How did he look?
Oh, Dane Wynn's come back very well. Dane Wynn is forward in condition. Bobby Thompson's given him a very good foundation, and when he starts racing in a couple of weeks, he'll be fit to win.
Keith, let's have a look at the Debonair. You talked about Blevick running on to third placing. He's last when we picked him up. Relene with the white blaze is a real specialist at Flemington, and Don Pasquale made it very interesting at the end.
This is an amazing race, an amazing finish. Most people on course thought that Don Pasquale had won. The photo showed that Don Pasquale was tucked up preparing for its next stride, and Relene got that decision. The sequel then went to the steward's room with Alf Matthews protesting. Again, Don Pasquale was beaten, and the irony of it all was that the former world powerlifting champion Paul Jordan from Perth was the underbidder on Relene, missed by $2,000 at the Adelaide sales.
I think he went to 28,000, the horse went to 30, and yet he paid 30 for Don Pasquale. He's obviously a good horse. He's only been beaten by Mobile Link, I think, is the horse in Western Australia. He must be a pretty good horse.
Yes, and yesterday's runners-up check was 10,000, so Paul Jordan wrote his own for 10,000 to pay up the late entry for Don Pasquale to run in the Guineas.
What do we think of Blevick, Max and Keith? Is he exciting enough to say that this might be a top weight for age horse in 6 months' time?
Took a while to grab me, to be honest, but I think he's a top liner. I do think that Daneman should have beat him in the Derby, but I'm looking forward to the clashes, aren't you, Max?
For a start, did you check the photo finish there? I think that was another dark moment. I want to have a look at that photo.
He did look like he won. I reckon look like Don Pasquale, didn't it?
It went to a developed print, and I did check the photo finish. There was a nostril. There wasn't even that, Max.
I reckon the world powerlifting champion is entitled to get the judge by the throat.
Well, in the steward's room, too, with him protesting, I think if the acting chief Stipe, Des Gleeson, realised that he could squat 360 kilos and lift 250 kilos, he might have got the protest.
Blevick is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with in the staying races. He's a good racehorse. He showed it that way. He had to race against a bias, which you might take for granted. What the hell is Flemington doing with a rail 10 metres out for a meeting like that? That is a terrible track. Now, at Randwick in January, we've had 5 meetings plus the Pope's visit, and I would submit to you that Randwick last week was in better condition, fairer condition, than Flemington yesterday.
Gee, that's an inaccurate opinion from a long distance, Max. Flemington had marginal bias, if any, yesterday. Horses were running on. Blevick had to give 4.5 kilos to his rivals, and the pace was too slow. That's why he couldn't win.
Gee,
why
Max,
was the pace slow, Keith?
Well, it was
It might have had something to do with the placement of the rail. Why was the rail out 10 metres?
To protect it for the big meetings coming up, including a double bunger with the Guineas and the Lightning Stakes, Max.
And Max, you must remember, Max, could I butt in just for a second, that they have had extra meetings at Flemington because of Moonee Valley.
Oh, because of Moonee Valley. Well, 5 at Randwick and the Pope's visit. And we can get a fairer surface than you had yesterday.
You're stuck on that Pope. I reckon you've mentioned him 8 times in the last fortnight.
Bruce, did Telesto have a fair go at Flemington yesterday?
Well, let's have a look, Max, now that you're good on. He's queued it up. Actually, I reckon the winner of this is named after Max. Cut Up Rough, didn't it win well?
It did too. Very good horse.
Do you think Telesto had a fair... Oh, Cut Up Rough's in front. He's travelling well. Telesto didn't tail out as much as normal, Keith. I mean, he was last. He's on the left of screen at the moment. And Tristalove, who, by the way, I saw you tipped it pretty strongly, Max, in the Sydney Morning Herald on Friday. She ran a nice race. She's about 5th at the moment.
Now, I'll concede Max a point here, Bruce, because the last sectional time, the 800 metres, was run in 45 seconds. So here we have Cut Up Rough, highballing it in front. He's got the race won here. So therefore, time-wise, it's impossible for Telesto to catch him. But watch Cut Up Rough on the finish, on the line, being easy. It was a soft win. No excuses.
Where does he go from here, Cut Up Rough?
I think you'll find there will be a surprise, and I suggest to you that he'll now take on Hariba in the Newmarket Handicap.
And I suggest to you he will be beaten soundly by Hariba in the Newmarket Handicap.
Well, could I suggest something? I think the whole field might be beaten soundly if Hariba's on his day. He does look quite super, but he's a very promising horse. What do you make of Telesto, Max? You've seen more of him than we have. Every time he's come to Flemington, he's been unlucky. Yeah, well, that is Telesto. Telesto goes to a lot of tracks and he is unlucky. He tails out. He's got to get the brakes. The race has got to be run to suit him. But I'd like a return bout at Randwick over 1,600 metres or even 1,400 metres for that matter with Keith's horse cut it up.
Well, wait till Randwick stops looking like a patchwork quilt after the papal visit, Max.
What about...
I won't have the rail out 10 metres.
What about Tristela? Actually, did they have it out for the Pope, Max?
The rail was taken away completely,
Thank you, Max. Just for the record, Tristela?
She was a little underdone and looked that way before the race and proved that way in the run. She'll improve.
The Vanity, Tristalov's stablemate, I thought was the biggest run in the race. The Leon Corstens trained Tristavante. She looks a pretty promising horse. No Mischief sat on the pace here and just beat Dan Tane. A bit disappointed with Princess Dor. She may not have come up, Keith.
She again was disappointing. She was the favourite. Surprisingly, in the late minutes of betting, she is from 5 to 4 to 2 to 1.
Gee, that's a blow, isn't it?
It is a blow. Now, No Mischief. I don't know whether we've underrated this filly. She's won 5 of her 18 starts. It's the second Flemington win. Tristavante was the eye catcher, and Princess Dior the disappointment. It was a race that really didn't give us what we had expected from either of the two favourites.
Honestly, traditionally, the Vanity's always been much weaker than the Debonair. The fillies races that, for some reason, you go through the record, the Vanity hasn't thrown up the winners. Mahogany won the Debonair.
The only common link yesterday was that Michael Clark rode both winners, and it's good to see Michael back in town.
Keith, light up... not Keith, Max, you've thrown me today. Light Up the World. She had a beautiful run through on the fence in the straight. What do you think of her?
Yeah, Light Up the World is a very good racehorse. But note, Tommy Smith's been doing this for 50 years. Horses in the box position, hard fit, taking full advantage of the pace. Now, there's Light Up the World on the rails, just scooting along. Now, Light Up the World has come home in something like 33 seconds. Now, how could anything come from behind and beat Light Up the World? Now, that's a fine training performance from Gay Waterhouse, who follows her father's training methods. But down the outside, Moment's Pleasure drew badly, did it tough, came home even better than Light Up the World. Two outstanding performances, but both horses are resuming after a spell, and you just wonder how much those tough gut-busting runs would have taken out of them.
That was the big fillies race. Arborea looked a bit disappointing, Max. I know you tipped her. I thought she was closer than I expected early and then drifted back. And big weight, not much going for her, but I just wonder about her now. Well,
60 kilos, as I said, that the winners come home in 33. Arborea, certainly, it wasn't a gut buster. There's plenty left for next time.
Well, that's good. Max, also, with that, not only Damewin did you see on Friday, you saw Aragon, I think, and Danarani, Love of Mary. What was the best of the trials?
Love of Mary looked very light, very fast, ready to fly. Danarani, disappointing to my eye. Perhaps she'll improve. Aragon, carrying more round the girth than Keith Hillier, will improve vastly with that trial.
Isn't he rude?
You've got Dan Zero up there too, Max, so you've got an exciting carnival ahead of you.
Yeah, we've got some very good 3-year-olds over Australia, and I just wonder which is going to be the best. Tommy Smith said, don't you forget Stony Bay. You're getting carried away with Blevick and Damewin. Stony Bay will beat them. We'll see if he's any sort of a judge.
And just finally, a sad note that Kiwi died in the paddock this week. I think he was 17 years of age. I thought, on reflection, was one of the most exciting wins in the last 20 years in the Melbourne Cup.
I think at the end of a Melbourne Cup, the public loves to see a champ come from last and win. This was the win that set Jim Cassidy up, a young Jim Cassidy, up as one of the top echelon of riders in Australia now, who's virtually unknown before this.
And Max, your feeling on Kiwi's win?
A magnificent win, of course. He didn't have to contend with the rail being out 10 metres.
Max, we'll see you next week. Keith, we'll see you next week.
Yes, and if I just may quickly say, Bruce, that Lee Freeman, Damien Oliver, Patrick Payne, Melbourne Cup winning jockey Wayne Harris will all be at Bendigo tomorrow night for a charity night for the late Phil Hart, Sean. Bendigo tomorrow night.
Yes, that's a very worthy night. That's tomorrow night. Let's leave with Bill Collins' famous call of Kiwi winning in 1983.
600 out on the corner. Mark Vogel, Hay and Kia Mare in line, and Mr. Jazz and Triumphal March make a line of nearly 5. Noble Comment behind them as they turn for home, and then Bianco Lady. No Pier to the outside, just a dash to Jour Mio looking for a run. Kia Mare sprinted clear. At the 300, it's a length and a half to Noble Comment and Mr. Jazz the outside, then Triumphal March, Nostradamus. Kia Mare grabbed by Noble Comment and Mr. Jazz. Mr. Jazz, Noble Comment, Kia Mare clear. Veloso making some sort of a run, and Kiwi late. It's going to be close here. Kiwi's going to beat them all with a mighty run. Kiwi swamps them on the line, and Kiwi's won at a length.